stand up. I'm gonna check my clearance light. My turn signal, my reflector, my four-way, and my clearance light. My turn signal and reflector, my headlight. My headlight, my turn signal and reflector. My turn signal, reflector, clearance lights, and four-way flashes. They're clean, not cracked or broken, not missing, proper color. When the inspection starts, whoever doing the inspection will be the one that's opening and closing the truck. They will not get no assistance from me. Then I'm gonna go back to my exhaust system. This is my exhaust system. My exhaust system mounted securely, connected tightly, no loose or missing clamps. There's no rust or carbon soot, which indicate a leak. I'm gonna follow the piping all the way to the turbo, and I'm checking for holes, cracks, and severe dents. When I get here, my turbo, I'm gonna check my engine hoses. I'm checking them for conditions and leaks. Now I'm gonna do my cooling system. I'm gonna start with my reservoir. I'm gonna check the sight glass to make sure I got an adequate amount of fluid. I'm gonna check my hose for conditions and leaks. Fittings on both ends is secure. I'm gonna do the hose all the way down to my water pump. My water pump is securely mounted, not leaking, gear driven. Going to the other side. Again, I'm gonna check my engine hoses for conditions and leaks. Then I'm gonna start at the top with my alternator. Mounted securely, wires are securely fastened. It's belt driven, so I'm gonna inspect my belt. I'm gonna check to make sure it ain't cracked, it ain't worn, and it ain't frayed. I'm gonna check the tension. I should get no more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and my belt is snug. I'm gonna come straight down to my air compressor. My air compressor is mounted securely, not leaking, gear driven. I'm coming straight over to my arm. I'm gonna pull it, I'm gonna wipe it. I'm gonna reinsert it. I'm gonna pull it, holding it down, and I'm gonna check to make sure it's above the refill mark. I'm gonna come straight out to my power steering reservoir. It's between the add and the full. I'm gonna check all the hoses. Make sure they're in good condition and not leaking. The fittings on both ends are secure and not leaking. I'm gonna follow this hose down to the water, to the power steering pump. Power steering pump is securely mounted, not leaking, gear driven. I'm gonna follow this hose down to the gearbox. The gearbox is not cracked or broken. It's got a hose going to it so it don't leak. It's not missing any nuts and bolts, and it's securely mounted. I'm gonna check my steering linkage, arm, rod, and link. I'm gonna make sure it's not cracked or broken. It's not missing any nuts and bolts. Castle nut, carder key, my bushings are not damaged. My joints and sockets are not worn or loose. I'm going to my suspension system. I'm gonna do my mount and my hanger. My mount and hanger is not cracked or broken. My bushings, brackets, and bolts are in place. My leaf springs is not cracked or broken, missing or shifted. My U-bolt are not cracked or broken. My bolts are not loose or missing, to include the U-bolts. I'm coming to my shock absorber. My shock absorber is securely mounted, not leaking. Right next to my shock absorber is my brake hose. So I'm gonna do my brake system. My brake hose, the fittings on both ends is secure and not leaking. My brake hose is not cut, it's not worn, it's not leaking, and it can supply air. My brake hose goes straight down to my brake chamber. I'm gonna check my brake chamber and clamp. My brake chamber and clamp is not cracked, it's not dented, it does have holes in it. My clamp is not loose or missing. It's got a line running to it so it don't leak. It's not missing any nuts and bolts, and that makes it secure. For my brake chamber, I'm going to on the back of every brake chamber is a push rod and a slack adjuster. I'm going to my push rod and my slack adjuster. This is my push rod. My push rod is not bent. My slack adjuster is securely mounted. With the brakes released and I pull on it by hand, I should get no more than 1 inch of travel, which takes me to my brake drum and my brake liner. This is my brake drum and this is my liner. Brake drum and liner. My brake drum is not cracked, it's not broken, it has no holes in it. My brake liner is not dangerously worn thin. There is no grease or contaminants between my brake drum and brake shoe. All that sits inside my rim. There is no missing parts on my slack adjuster. There is no missing bolts on my brake drums and brake liner. All that sits inside my rim. My rim, I'm gonna do it from the outside. My rim, I'm gonna check the bead. I'm looking for rust trails, which would indicate that my tire is separating from my rim. I'm gonna check my rim to make sure it's not bent and it has no wear repair. My rim is held on by my lug nuts. I'm gonna make sure that all 10 are present. They're not loose or missing. I'm gonna check for rust trails or distortion of the lug nut hole, which would indicate a loose nut. And I'm gonna check for cracks radiating from the lug nut hole, which would indicate an over-tightened nut. In the middle, there's my hub, or my axle seal. I'm gonna check to make sure it's securely mounted, not leaking, and it has an adequate amount of fluid in it. Then I'm gonna do my ICD. I'm gonna start with my inflation. I is for inflation. I'm gonna check my valve stems and make sure it's not cracked or broken, it don't leak. I'm gonna check that it's got a cap on it, and if I had a tie gauge, I would check for a proper inflation. C, I'm gonna check the conditions of my inner and my outer sidewall. I'm checking for cuts and any other damages. I'm gonna check for even tire wear. D, I'm gonna check my depth. I should have a minimum of 430 seconds. Once you're done under there, we'll ask you to close your hood. It doesn't mean that you can't come back if you think of something that you left. So we're gonna close the hood. And on your truck, it's got a safety device. You have to pull this safety device. In order to let the hood down, it's got a safety device. You have to pull that safety device down. Then you can close it. And when you close it, we lock it. On both sides. I stop at the bracket, the mirror bracket. The mirror bracket is securely mounted, not cracked or broken, not missing nuts and bolts and screws. Go to my mirror. My mirror is clean, not cracked or broken, no excess dirt. I come to my door. My door has no holes, no other damage. My door opens and closes properly. My door seal around my door, all the way around, is intact. My door hinges are not cracked or broken. It's not missing on nuts, bolts, and screws, which makes it securely mounted. My fire extinguisher, which sits right here, is supposed to be securely mounted and properly charged. How do I know it's properly charged? The needle is in the green. I come here, I open up this little bay here, and I should have 3 warning triangles and my spare fuses. Then I come here to my fuel tank. I want to check to make sure that my fuel tank is securely mounted, the cap is secure and not leaking. Then I want to look underneath to make sure that my tank is not leaking. Then I'm going to check my catwalk and steps. My catwalk and steps is solidly mounted to the frame, not missing no nuts and bolts, and it's free of obstructions. It's mounted to the frame, so I'm going to do my frame. My frame, I'm going to check the longitudinal frame and cross members. My longitudinal frame, I'm going to look to the left, to the right. It's not cracked or broken. My cross members is not cracked or broken. It's not missing no nuts, bolts, or screws. Makes everything securely mounted. Then I got my drive shaft. My drive shaft and U-joint. My drive shaft is not cracked or broken or twisted. My U-joint is not cracked or broken, not missing any nuts and bolts, and it's free of obstructions. I'm going to check my airline. My airline is in good condition and not leaking. The fittings on both ends is secure and not leaking. I'm going to check my splash guard. My splash guard is securely mounted and not damaged. I'm going to check my glad hand. I'm going to point somebody to you. This is the glad hand. These are the fittings. Glad hand, fittings. I'm going to check my glad hand to make sure they're locked in place and my seal is in good condition. I don't have to take it loose. The fittings on both ends, the truck and the trailer, on both lines, is secure and not leaking. My airline. My airline is not cut, cracked, crimped, chafed, pinched, worn, tangled, taped, or dragging on the catwalk. My electric line. My electric plug connector is seated, firmly seated, and locked in place on both ends, my truck and my trailer. My electric line, the installation is not cut. It's not cut, cracked, crimped, chafed, pinched, worn, taped, tangled, spliced. Then I'm gonna do my header board. My header board has no holes in it, no missing rivets, and it can contain my cargo. My clearance lights on the top, along the side, and along the top, on the side. They are clean, not cracked or broken, not missing, proper color. Then I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna start at the top. I'm gonna start with my apron. My apron is not cracked, dented, and it lays flat on my fifth wheel skid plate. This is my fifth wheel skid plate. My gap, I have no space between my apron and my fifth wheel skid plate. My fifth wheel skid plate is not cracked or broken, it's properly greased. My release handle and safety lock are fully engaged. It is supported by my platform. This is my platform. My platform is not cracked or broken, and it supports my fifth wheel. My fifth wheel slide. My fifth wheel slide is not cracked or broken. It's not missing any nuts and bolts. My pins are fully engaged, and my fifth wheel is positioned so that when I make a turn, the rear of my truck don't hit my landing gear. This is my mount and my mounting bolts. These are my mounting bolts. They're not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Everything is secure. Which brings me down to my mount and my hanger. My mount and hanger is not cracked or broken, it's not missing any nuts and bolts. My bushings, brackets, and bolts are in place. My leaf spring. My leaf spring is not cracked or broken, missing or shifted. My U-bolt. My U-bolt is right here. My U-bolts are not cracked or broken. The bolts are not loose or missing, to include the U-bolt. This is my torsion bar. My torsion bar is securely mounted and not damaged. My shock absorber. My shock absorber is securely mounted, not leaking. My airbag and mount. My mount is not cracked or broken, it's not missing any nuts and bolts, and securely mounted. My airbag has no cuts, no other damages, and it don't leak. My brake hose. I reach over here, that's my brake hose. My brake hose, the fittings on both ends is secure and not leaking. My hose is not cut, it's not cracked, it's not worn, and it can supply air. It goes to my brake chamber and clamp. My brake chamber and clamp is not cracked, it's not dented. My clamp is not loose or missing. It doesn't leak, and not missing any nuts and bolts, and it's securely mounted. On the back side is my push rod and my slack adjuster. My push rod is not bent. My slack adjuster is securely mounted. There is no missing parts. With the brakes released and I pull on it by hand, I should get no more than 1 inch of travel. My brake drum and my brake liner. My brake drum and my brake liner. My brake drum is not cracked or broken, has no hole. My brake liner is not dangerous and worn thin. There is no contaminants such as grease and oil between my brake drums and my brake liner. Has no missing bolts. My bud space. My bud space is evenly spaced and free of foreign obstruction. ICD on both tires. I'm gonna do the outer tire. My ICD is I'm gonna check my valve stem. Make sure it ain't cracked or broken and it's not leaking. I'm gonna check to make sure it's got a valve stem, a valve cap on it. If I had a tire gauge, I'll check for proper inflation. C, I'm gonna check for cuts and any other damages. I'm gonna check for even tire wear. D, I should have a minimum of 230 seconds. My rim, I'm gonna check the bead. I'm gonna look for rust trail, which would indicate that my tire is separating from my rim. My rim, I'm gonna check sure it ain't bent, has no wear repair. My lug nuts, all 10, I'm gonna make sure all 10 is present. They're not loose or missing. There's no rust trails or distortion of the lug nut hole, which would indicate a over-tight or loose nut. I'm gonna check for cracks radiating from the lug nut hole, which would indicate an over-tight nut. I'm gonna check my hub. I'm gonna check to make sure it's securely mounted, not leaking. I'm gonna check the frame on my trailer. I'm gonna look down the frame of my trailer and make sure it ain't cracked or broken, bent or twisted. I'm gonna check the sidewall of my trailer. Make sure it has no holes, no missing rivets, and it can contain my cargo. I'm gonna make sure that my DOT tape all the way down is affixed to my vehicle. I'm gonna come to my mud flap. My mud flap is securely mounted. It's not damaged. My DOT tape is affixed. I'm gonna look straight forward and I'm gonna look at my kingpin. My kingpin is not cracked or broken, and no other damage. My lock and lever is not cracked or broken, it has no other damage. My lock and lever is locked around the shank of my kingpin. I'm gonna back out and I'm gonna look down, there's a torsion bar. My torsion bar is securely mounted, it's not damaged. I'm gonna come all the way out and I'm gonna check my lights. My lights are clean, not cracked or broken, not missing, proper color. I'm gonna look up under my floor and I'm gonna check all my trailer cross members all the way down. I'm gonna make sure they're not cracked or broken, bent or twisted, not missing no nuts and bolts, and they're securely mounted. I'm gonna check the floor of my trailer all the way down. I wanna make sure it has no holes and it can support my cargo. I'm gonna check my landing gear. I'm gonna start by inspecting my support frame. My support frame is not cracked or broken. It's not missing any nuts and bolts. I'm gonna make sure that my pad is not damaged and my pad is fully raised. I'm gonna make sure that my crank handle is in the locked position. Alright, DOT tape, no holes, no missing rivets, no holes, no missing rivets. And I'm gonna stop at this set of tires and I'm gonna go back under. I'm gonna start with my mount and my hanger. My mount and hanger is not cracked or broken. Not missing nuts, bushings, brackets, and bolts are in place. My leaf springs are not cracked or broken, missing or shifted. My U-bolts are not cracked or broken, not missing any nuts and bolts, to include the U-bolt. There is no airbag mount, there is no shock. This is my torque arm. My torque arm is securely mounted, it's not damaged. I'm gonna go to my brake system. My brake hoses, the fittings on both ends is secure and not leaking. My hoses are cracked, ain't cut, and it don't leak, and they can supply air. I'm going to my brake chamber and clamp. My brake chamber and clamp is not cracked, not dented. My clamp is not loose or missing, and it don't leak. Not missing any nuts and bolts, and it's securely mounted. My push rod and slack adjusters on the back side. My push rod is not bent, there's no missing parts. My slack adjuster is securely mounted. With the brakes released and I pull on it by hand, I should get no more than 1 inch of travel. I'm gonna do my brake drum and my brake liner. My brake drum is not cracked, broken, it has no hole. My brake liner is not dangerously worn thin. There is no contaminants such as grease and oil between my brake drums and brake liner. There is no missing bolts. My tandem release. My tandem release is fully engaged. My pins are engaged and not damaged. My tandem slide is not cracked or broken, not bent or twisted. Securely mounted to the bottom of my trailer. My bud space. My bud space is evenly spaced and free of foreign obstruction. I'm gonna do my ICD on both tires, but I'm gonna do it on my outer tire and on the outside. I'm gonna check for cuts and any other damages. I'm gonna check for even tire wear. A minimum of 230 seconds. My valve stem is not cracked or broken, it don't leak. It has a valve cap on it, and if I had a tire gauge, I'd check for proper inflation. My rim, I'm gonna check the bead. I'm looking for rust trail, which would indicate that my tire's separating from my rim. I'm gonna check my rim to make sure it ain't bent and no wear repair. I'm gonna check my lug nuts, make sure that they all are present. They're not loose or missing, cracked, or broken. I'm gonna look for rust trails and distortion of the lug nut hole, which would indicate a loose nut. I'm gonna check for cracks radiating from the lug nut hole, which would indicate an over-tight nut. I'm gonna check my hub, my axle seal. I'm gonna make sure it's securely mounted, not leaky. Check my mud flap, securely mounted, not damaged. I'm gonna check my door tie, securely mounted, not damaged. I'm gonna check my door hinges, all the way around both doors. Securely mounted, not damaged, not missing no nuts and bolts. I'm gonna check the door. It has no holes in it, and it can contain my cargo. My DOT tape is affixed. My handles, I'm gonna make sure they're in the locked position and my door opens and closes properly. I'm gonna check the seal all the way around both doors to make sure that my seal is intact. I normally have 2 door ties here that hooks to that tie. Securely mounted, not damaged. I'm gonna check my clearance lights and my tail light, brake lights, turn signals, and 4-way flashing. I'm gonna check to make sure they're clean, not cracked or broken, not missing, proper color. My DOT tape is affixed. Are there any questions? Y'all see how easy that is?